Okay, now we come in your way. Hi, we have an indecisive unit. She doesn't know which lap she wants.
Good evening, everybody.
Cat to cat.
Happy March-ish, end of March-ish.
End of March, post
Yes.
St. Patrick's Day.
Post St. Patrick's Day. Second time we've talked to you on Facebook Live in March.
Yes.
But yes, been a busy month. We had a wonderful Churchill Irish Festival. And then this past weekend...
This past weekend we took off.
We did. We went and saw that's right.
We saw a concert.
We went to a concert at the Richmond Music Hall, the one that's attached to Capitol Ale House downtown. We went to see Allie the Piper.
Which was awesome.
She was fantastic.
All right, why am I not seeing this?
Did you hit refresh?
I did.
Try again.
Here's refresh.
Yeah, so should be the first thing on our feed now.
There we are.
There we are.
All right, now.
Beth is exhibiting why I typically do this.
Yes.
But anyway, so yes, it's been a wonderful, very busy month, and we're not done yet. We have GalaxyCon this coming weekend.
Oh, good Lord, help us all.
What?
I am very excited for this, but I just know it's going to be a very long weekend.
Yes, it is.
So that's why I'm saying, good Lord, help us all. Give us the strength.
We load in on Wednesday, and then we're there all day Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Plus tours every night.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's going to be 4 wall-to-wall days. And the kitty cats are going to be wondering what on earth is going on. So,
what do I hit on here? Thank you.
ta-da!
And now mute.
And there's Alex. And we saw Alex at the Irish Festival. It was wonderful to see you, Alex. We had not seen you in person in a very long time.
Yeah, we ended up having to hold the tent a few times because of the gusts. We had it weighted down.
Yeah, Sunday was...
Our neighbor did not have it weighted down, and we had to catch his tent. It went to the middle of the road.
That was fortunately before things opened up.
Yes, but still.
It was, Sunday was quite the bit of weather that we had.
And so we actually packed it in probably
Everybody packed it in early.
1:30.
Yeah.
The band kept going, but all the vendors were packing it in by then.
Yeah. And anybody that was hanging out at that point in time was basically just there to listen to the band. So, yeah. But anyways, it was still a wonderful Churchill Irish Festival, and we're already going to be looking forward to next year's festivities. But yeah, so again, GalaxyCon this weekend. Go ahead and stop by, see us there. We'll have a vendor table. We have panels on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evening.
Yep.
We have tours Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
and Sunday.
So yeah, we got a lot going on this weekend. And after that, well, we'll worry about after GalaxyCon because...
Yeah, let us get through this weekend first.
Yeah.
It's going to be busy, and all brain power is needed. Just saying.
But in the meantime, we are here tonight to go ahead and talk about Ireland again. So this is part 4. I feel like we've done even more than that, but yes.
We've done like hotels and castles and stuff that were just...
Yeah.
So we have featured Ireland on a lot of things.
Yeah.
Libraries. Because the Marsh Library was...
Yep, there was a library there.
I'm working on the next script, which is another haunted libraries, and I had to review the first script because I goofed and I didn't want to repeat what I did with the script.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, honey.
It's okay. It's fine. Everything's fine.
I repeated stories, way too many of them, and I did a bad edit.
Everything's fine.
But Chris fixed it.
I fixed.
He fixed my mistakes.
I fixed it with a cleaver.
Sometimes it's necessary.
Anyways, so yes, we've kind of been a tradition for us to go ahead and give one of our March episodes to Ireland, and so this is what we have for you tonight. And so of course, lush landscapes, ancient castles and manors, dimly lit pubs, and more. There's all kinds of havens for spirits to linger in Ireland. So we have another set of such for you tonight. And to kick things off this evening, we are going to be starting up in County Sligo, where the lush landscapes have long been intertwined with tales of the supernatural. And, the castles and manors do oftentimes kind of take center stage in a lot of the ghost stories in Ireland. There are some restless spirits of County Sligo that have settled in at Ross's Point. It's a beautiful coastal village at the mouth of Sligo Harbour. Smugglers, pirates, fairies, and ghosts all linger in the shadows and shallow waters of Ross's Point.
So basically where we need to move to.
Yeah. It's a place that even the legendary poet William Butler Yeats claimed to be one of the most haunted locations in all of Ireland. Now, as beautiful as it is, the rugged cliffs, the windswept shores of Ross's Point have claimed over 60 ships through its written history, let alone those that may have vanished in those treacherous waters without a trace. Such loss is memorialized here in multiple ways, but perhaps none is more poignant than the Waiting on Shore monument that simply features a bereaved woman with her hands gesturing longingly towards the sea. Though tragic, the beauty of the place seems to have lured back some of those shipwreck victims alongside a myriad collection of other specters. The people of Ross's Point have long been accustomed to spirited encounters. It seems that almost every seaside cottage has some ghost that drops in from time to time. The ghosts of old fishermen have been seen coming and going from the places that they would have once called home, and it's not uncommon to catch a whiff of some of the old cigarettes that many of those fishermen used to smoke, even when no one nearby is lit up.
Yeah, let me just say, it's a different scent.
Oh, yes.
I mean, European tobacco is a different scent to begin with, but this is a really different scent. It's almost salty.
Mm-hmm. Makes you wonder if they cut it with seaweed.
Yeah, it really does.
Might be a little bit of exaggeration, but perhaps not.
I mean, when you're running low,
yeah,
and you need to make it stretch, you use what you got, and seaweed's what you got.
So specters of the 18th, there are also specters of 18th century women that have been encountered in some of the homes, in some cases scowling at the modern day residents. While they remain speechless, their message seems clear. How dare you rest comfortably here when my seafaring husband never returned home? Now, one of the more notoriously haunted locations in Ross's Point is the one-time smuggler's den of Elsinor House. Aside from the purported smugglers, this is a place that William Butler Yeats was intimately familiar with and that he spent much time at. As a young boy, Yeats spent summers at Elsinor House with his brother, a residence that once belonged to his grandparents. The house was built by the smuggler John Black, or Black Jack, one or the other, close enough.
He goes by both.
Yep. Sadly, the house has since fallen into a state of disrepair, a ruin that is cordoned off for the hazards that it presents today. And excuse our
neighborhood saviors going down the street.
Yep. But anyways, it is at Elsinor House that Yeats would have listened to the haunting tales of the souls lost to the unforgiving sea, stories that would later inspire some of his own poetic musings. One of the stories from the house is that it is haunted by the smugglers that once used to come to this place with their goods. According to the ghost stories, the ghost of the smugglers that died at sea will come to the house at night, tapping on the windows, shadows in the stormy night. With the house now itself being a shadow of its former self, we're curious to know if the spirits of the smugglers still come around, wondering what has become of their former abode. Or have they perhaps wandered a little further afield to the nearby holiday apartments, maybe the fishing charters that stand just across the way, or maybe into the heart of town where they can explore the more modern amenities such as the luxury spa or Chinese takeout. I can't imagine them going far, as even though Elsinor House may be lost, Ross's Point remains a comfortably alluring destination to this day.
I'm sorry, haunted Chinese just strikes me as funny.
What, Chinese takeout?
Yes.
Everybody likes Chinese takeout.
Exactly, that's why it strikes me as funny.
Yeah.
I just want to see a floating Chinese box.
Chinese takeout.
Yes, it's floating. It's like, oh, Captain, enjoy.
Now, the tales of Ross's Point extended beyond the resident spirits and specters. At the far western tip of Ross's Point, where the land ends and the Atlantic Ocean begins, is Dead Man's Point. This ominously named spit of land gets its name from a long-standing legend of the region's earliest seafaring days. The story goes that a crewman on a ship fell ill and died while the ship was moored at Ross's Point. The crew took the man's body ashore and worked to give him a hasty and shallow burial. Their time was short, as they would need to set sail before their ship was grounded by the falling tide. Some of the crew were uneasy with their task, wondering if their crewmate was even truly deceased. The captain, unwilling to risk his ship, but also acknowledging his crew's concerns, left a loaf of bread and a shovel by the grave of the supposedly deceased crewman so that he could dig himself out should the need arise. While there are certainly plenty of holes in this local legend, it did inspire the lingering name of Dead Man's Point for the site where this burial took place generations ago.
How can he dig himself out with a shovel outside?
Holes in the story. Holes in the story.
Lots of order.
Lots of holes in the story. But, Dead Man's Point. Now, from Dead Man's Point, one can look south and see another legendary site of Ross's Point, the Metal Man. The Metal Man is just what it sounds like, a metal statue of a man. He is situated on a stone outcropping called Perch Rock in the navigation channel entering Sligo Harbor. The Metal Man was cast in 1819 and found his current home in 1821, serving as a navigation beacon. Over time, the Metal Man became an icon of Ross's Point, being featured in numerous art pieces and stories. It was also updated as a beacon over the years. In 1908, an acetylene light was placed beside the Metal Man. This was later upgraded to a flashing red light in the 1930s before becoming a solar-powered marker in 2003. In recent years, locals have raised concerns about the deteriorating state of the Metal Man, claiming that he is just one bad storm away from toppling into the sea. Perhaps it is this concern that has helped to elevate the legend that if the Metal Man is to ever fall, the town of Ross's Point will fall with him.
So it's similar to the crows at the London.
Yes.
Tower of London.
Yep. Well, we hope that this never comes to pass. The legend has been used to fuel the Save the Metal Man movement in the community. For a taste of what the Metal Man means to the people of Ross's Point, check out the painting Memory Harbor by Jack Butler Yeats, the brother of William Butler Yeats, which features prominently this historic landmark. And speaking of William Butler Yeats yet again, let's turn our attention a little further afield.
So, funny thing, when I was talking to Chris about expanding this, I was just like, oh, we should put in James Joyce. He talks about ghosts, thinking about Yeats and calling him Joyce. I am so sorry. My bad.
You sent me down a little rabbit hole.
I did, and it was like, the wrong one.
What are you talking about?
I was like, I knew exactly where I was talking about the ghost stories, and I completely put the wrong name.
You picked the wrong writer.
I did.
Yes.
Oops.
So, William Butler Yeats, not James Joyce.
Yep. Irish poet, Nobel laureate.
Yep.
Firm believer in ghosts.
Are you going to read this?
I'm going to try.
Go for it. Okay.
He claimed that after death we relived our intense moments over and over again, loving the same people, pursuing the same endeavors, and stooping to the same depths of depravity. Born in Dublin, Yeats grew up in County Sligo. Yeats believed that when you spoke of a dead man, you were conjuring his ghost. If this is true, well, let's just say Yeats has an awful, awful lot of conjuring going on.
In Sligo in particular.
In Sligo, yeah. So, there's the Yeats Summer School, held here every year. A statue of the poet stands in front of the Ulsterbake. The building facade features a vast mural of his face, and just out of town, there are modest grounds of Yeats United Football Club.
Sligo loves Yeats. But Yeats loves Sligo, so it works.
Yep. All right, so His interest in the supernatural would truly start to manifest as he entered into his 20s. At this point in his life, he had traveled around the west of Ireland near Galway with his close friend, Lady Augusta Gregory, collecting folklore and fairy tales from the locals. One of Yeats's favorite stories featured a troupe of fairies who decided to punish a flirtatious country boy. The fairies affixed a corpse to the boy's shoulders and told him he must bury the corpse before sunrise. The other bodies rose out of the dirt, attacking the boy, and he struggles and struggles to get the corpse off of his back. But he finally forces it under the ground and goes on to lead a much cleaner life. Yeats often would feature the fairies in his early poems, but over time the fairies came to be replaced by ghosts. In 1890 were a time of turmoil and development for Yeats. During this period, he worked on a number of editorial projects and published several collections of poetry. The influences during this period of his life would remain relevant throughout his work. Celtic myth, William Blake, the cult. Yeats would become involved in theosophy, the religious philosophy or speculation about the nature of the soul based on a mystical insight into the nature of God. Later, he would turn to Hermetism, the study of the practice of the occult, of philosophy and magic associated with the writings attributed to the god Hermes. And from those inspirations, he began to construct an occult symbolic system for a proposed Celtic mystical order. Like the Druid bards of his early poetry, Yeats came to see himself as an Irish visionary who would revive his country's dormant spiritual heritage. During these years, Yeats regularly came to County Galway, the estate of Cool Park, to stay with Lady Gregory. While he was here, he would wander the grounds, lamenting his doomed love for Maud Nolan, an heiress and actress who rejected his marriage proposals for decades. Despite the heartbreak he reflected on those summers at Cool, inspired the poet to find a home of his own not far away. A few miles away stood Yeats. There we go, we're back. In 1917, Yeats scraped together £35 to become the proud owner of his very own Norman Castle. However, even after the years of restoration, it still had no electricity or indoor plumbing, and it often flooded. Yeats's friend, the American poet Ezra Pound, quietly referred to the tower as Ballyphallus, or Yeats's phallic symbol of the bogs. Still, he settled into this dark and dank home and pushed forward in his writings. It is once Yeats hit the age of 51 in 1917 that the paranormal truly came home for the writer. At this age, he marries Georgie Hydless, a 25-year-old Englishwoman. You heard that right, she's half his age. Soon after the marriage, Hydless realizes that she has a particular talent for channeling ghosts. It was the delight of her new husband. Now, she would feel herself seized by a strange power, and then quickly scribbling down ghostly transmissions from the other world. Inside the medieval tower, the couple had thousands of conversations with these ghostly communicators. Conveniently, many of them dispelled Yeats' anxiety that he might have married the wrong woman. Though Hydley's skilled hand, the ghost advised Yeats on appropriate metaphors for her poetry and for the development of the philosophical system. Together, the couple developed an exposition using geometrical shapes, and Yeats would distill this into a publication in 1925 called A Vision. Yeats expressed that almost all of his writings he considered...
Amongst all of his writings.
Sorry. Wow. Continue, please.
Yeats expressed that amongst all of his writings, he considered this paranormally influenced publication to be his most important work. Yeats would live for another 14 years, passing away in 1939. As bemusing as some of his haunting exploits may be considered, they have been inextricably linked to Yeats's legacy. In 2006, Ireland's National Library in Dublin opened an exhibition featuring a deep exploration of the poet's life and works. Cabinets display poems, images of the women Yeats loved, and pages from the ghostly communicator's script. Immortalized into the modern day. Any questions?
I gotta go back and look since,
Questions, comments?
Yeah, really glad I'm up to trying to tell stories. Trying. My voice isn't quite cooperating. Patrick posted the Ross's Point. And also the middle band. Patrick's working on filling in the pictures for us. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you. Much appreciated, as always. So, do you want to try again? You want me to pick it up?
You keep going. Let me get rid of my cough drop, and then it might be better.
Okay. All right.
I do like the story.
So, we will... Do you want me to skip it and come back? No? Okay. Turning south, we'll head to Kinsale Harbor on the southern coast of County Cork. It was an important strategic location, as was demonstrated during the Siege of Kinsale during the 9 Years' War between England and Ireland. Charles Fort was built on the east coast of Kinsale Harbor in 1682 on the site of an earlier stronghold, Ringcurring Castle. The fort that's there today was named after King Charles II.
Of course it was.
Every aspect of the fort was made to repel attacks from the harbor, including walls of up to 18 feet thick to resist cannon fire. Additionally, an underwater chain could be stretched across the estuary from Charles Fort to James Fort to puncture enemy ships. Charles Fort was a British barracks until it was surrendered to the Irish following the Anglo-Irish Treaty of 1921. The fort was burned by retreating forces and fell out of use. The fort was largely left abandoned until it was identified as a national monument in 1971. A gradual restoration of the fort was undertaken over the subsequent decades, and today the fort is open to the public. Despite being a military fortification, the haunting at Charles Fort arises from a shocking family tragedy that is only marginally related to military service. When the widower, Colonel Warrender, became commander of the fort, he moved there with his only daughter, Wilful. Wilful was engaged to a young soldier, Sir Trevor Ashert, and they married soon after her arrival at the fort. On their wedding night, during a romantic walk along the ramparts, Wilful noticed some beautiful flowers on the rocks below and expressed a wish that she should have some. One of the guards volunteered to climb down and get her a flower if her newlywed husband would take his place on guard while he did so. This was agreed, and the young soldier asked his bride to return to their room and to wait for him there. The climb down to retrieve the flowers took longer than expected, and after an hour of waiting for the guard to return, the young soldier fell asleep. Colonel Warrender was known to be an extremely strict commander, and while doing one last round before retiring for the night, he spotted what he thought was a guard asleep on duty. He was infuriated and demanded that the guards stand up at once. But now, in a deep sleep, the young soldier did not hear the commander's warning, and when he did not stir, the angered commander took out his pistol and shot him without a second thought. The commander approached the dead watchman, only to discover in the moonlight that it was in fact his new son-in-law. Medical attention was sought, but it was too late. He was already gone. On learning that she had been widowed on her wedding night and by her own father's hand, Wilful was overcome with grief and rage and threw herself from the battlements. Later that night, her father also took his own life.
That was a bad night at the fort.
Yeah. Wilful now appears as a lady in white, wandering through the vast fortress. Wilful's ghost is usually described as a beautiful soul, sad but kind. A local man claims that he went for a run near Charles Fort one night. At one point, he stopped to retie his shoe. He put his hand on the fort wall for balance and felt another hand reach out from the wall to help him.
Sorry, cats are catting. It was something they shouldn't. All right. Once the small daughter of a major who served at Charles Fort in the early 19th century, was watching two orderlies pack her father's gear for a short trip, when out of the blue the child asked, "Who was that lady watching us over the banister?" The two soldiers looked up, but saw no one. The little girl insisted, and she had seen a pretty lady, dressed all in white, smiling at her from the staircase. Some years later, a nanny in the nursery of another officer's children, saw a figure of a lady in white appear out of nowhere in the corner of the room. Startled, she watched as the lady crossed to the bedside of the young officer's young son, and who was sound asleep. The lady stood watching the boy for a few moments, then reached out, caught his wrist in her hand. The boy woke shrieking, "Take your cold hand off my wrist," whereupon the lady simply vanished.
Witnesses have spotted her, still dressed in her wedding gown, ascending the stairs in the building she shared with her father before vanishing into thin air. Many soldiers reported hearing disembodied groans and spotting her walking through walls. While she is benevolent towards most who encounter her, she has been known to attack. 2 witnesses claim to have been knocked unconscious by the angry spirit when she threw them down the stairs. Both witnesses were male military personnel, and it is believed that they are most likely to incur her wrath. In the autumn of 1922, it was reported that the fort's medical officer was found unconscious at the foot of the stairs where the White Lady had been seen many times before. When he came to, he said that as he bent over to get the key to his rooms out from underneath the doormat where he usually hid it, he was grabbed around the torso and dragged across the hall and bodily thrown down the staircase. As he was falling, he caught a glimpse of a young woman in an old-fashioned wedding dress. Oh.
Somebody got his tail.
Yep. Scarcely a year later, a Captain Javes, resident at the fort, was going up to his quarters when he heard odd rattling noises from behind his locked door. At the same time, he caught a glimpse of a woman in a white gown rushing down the hall away from him. When he tried to get into his quarters, he found the door was apparently locked from the inside, although he had not left it so. Captain Javes set his shoulder to the door and pushed with all his strength against it. Just then, he reported later, a blast of cold wind blew past him and he was picked up by some unseen force and thrown headlong down the stairway. He lay unconscious for some time before being found by a fellow officer. Then there is the White Rabbit, who's said to be another ghost that is spotted when the fort was still active. The Phantom Rabbit was said to approach guards who had fallen asleep on duty and awaken them from their slumber, protecting them from an almost certain execution if caught. Once their target was awake, the kindly spirit would simply vanish. The White Lady does not limit her presence to the confines of the fort. She has also been seen wandering the streets of Kinsale, where she once lived. There is a hotel called the White Lady, and Wilful's ghost appears there every few weeks. One proprietor of the hotel claims to have seen Wilful on New Year's Eve in the kitchen. Finally, there are some who claim to have witnessed the ghost of Wilful's father, Governor Warrender. His ghost appears as a grief-stricken man sobbing uncontrollably, as he should for the grief that he sparked in a moment of rage. So, all kinds of stuff going on there in Kinsale.
Oh yes. And of course, Patrick wants to pet the rabbit. I do too.
It's a friendly rabbit.
It's a white bunny rabbit as long as there aren't any bones.
Yeah. The rabbit means well.
Yes.
The rabbit's trying to prevent bones.
Yes.
The rabbit wakes up sleeping guards.
So, Irish rabbit better than British rabbit.
Yes.
With sharp pointy teeth.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to go to County Carlow to Duckett's Grove. This is northeast, heading towards Dublin, and Duckett's Grove is a former great house, originally built in 1745 for the Duckett family. At the time, they would have been Carlow's largest landowners, and the fine Georgian-style house would have been set on 12,000 acres of land.
That's a lot of land.
It is a lot of land. The house was later rebuilt and then remodeled in the 19th century to form the impressive Gothic property, a shell of which we see today. Sadly, the property is gutted by fire in April of 1933, and all of the original features and furnishings are lost forever. Today, the building itself is a haunting and inaccessible ruin, but 2 historic walled gardens, which have been completely restored, are open to the public. Given the sad state of the house itself and the troubled times that it has seen, a curse that was placed upon it many years ago may have had the desired effect. It is said that William Duckett was having an affair with a young local woman. One day, when riding across the estate together, she fell from her horse and was killed. In her grief, the woman's mother placed a piscaga on the Duckett family and their property.
It's Pisawag.
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 I was going to say there was no W in there. Anyway.
Yeah. It's Gaelic.
It is.
We will not try to pronounce that again through the remainder of the show.
We'll call it the curse.
The curse.
The curse was intended to bring misfortune and eventual ruin. Since the spell was cast, the wailing of a banshee has sometimes been heard echoing through the ruins of the house and warning those who hear her cries of impending personal tragedy. Her cries have been linked to at least 2 deaths in recent times. One legend says a woman once heard the cry of the banshee and immediately died on the grounds of the estate. A gardener also heard the cry and found his mother dead the next morning. But the banshee is not the only entity that resides at Duckett's Grove. The Duckett's Grove has been visited by many paranormal enthusiasts over the years, and each has been keen to learn more about the hauntings in and around the imposing structure. Although sealed off to the public, those who have access to the building itself report having strange occurrences inside the derelict building. The noise and the fuss of a busy kitchen have been heard where the great house kitchen and pantry once stood. Disembodied voices, mysterious lights, music, and full-body apparitions have also been reported throughout the derelict property. The ghost of William Duckett himself has been seen still riding a horse, possibly reliving that fateful day which his mistress fell to her death, while a ghostly horse and carriage have been spotted pulling out to the outside of the once spectacular home. Tales of a spectral fox hunting party appear outside the door of the castle that has been recounted, as well as reported sightings of unusual shadowy figures and noises. In response, the Carlow County Council reportedly made the decision to close the grounds at night for health and safety reasons.
Health and safety.
I mean, a ghostly fox hunt might not be a good thing at night.
Yeah.
There's guns involved.
Okay.
Ghostly or not, there's guns involved.
All right.
Just saying.
Okay, next up.
And Patrick agrees with me that Irish Rabbit is definitely much better than Monty Python.
Yeah. He's not going to eat you.
But he does want to know, do they eat ghost carrots?
Once we figure out how to grow a ghost carrot, we can answer that question.
I mean, if you cross-pollinate a ghost pepper with a carrot, do you get a ghost carrot?
Ghost pepper?
Mm-hmm. Not that I would want to, because I don't ever want to touch one of those things.
Hot.
Yeah. Just saying. It might be a way to make it a ghost carrot.
Might be a way to make the Irish Rabbit go British.
True. Okay. No cross-pollinating carrot with ghost pepper. Got it.
Anyway, okay. All right, we're going to head north. Way north. We're going to stop up in Belfast. And what better way to get there than by train? If you arrive at the modern York Street railway station, you don't need to go far to find haunts. Nearby is the site of the original York Road railway station, which opened in 1848. The station was damaged during an air raid in 1941 and was so severely damaged during the Troubles in the 1970s that the later attack resulted in the construction of a less impressive structure at the site. That said, the station altogether closed in 1992, and the building has since been demolished. But the stories attached to it have been preserved. Not to mention that spirits have sometimes been known to linger on at sites long after the buildings have been lost to time. In April of 1987, a man was injured during a robbery at the station, and he sadly succumbed to his injuries 2 days later. Staff working at the station would later report seeing the ghost of a man in the running sheds and also in the staff canteen, even though the canteen had been locked up for the night. Night workers would also hear disembodied footsteps. Some questioned whether their fallen colleague was still clocking in as he did on that fateful day. The unfortunate employee may not be the only entity around the property. A slightly more mischievous, or maybe malevolent, depending on how you want to define it, force has been behind another incident where a fire extinguisher was reportedly hurled at night staff. Travelers using the station also witnessed ghostly characters sitting in empty carriages during the early morning or late night hours. Time will tell whether the spirits still linger around the site of the bygone station or if they have finally had the opportunity to rest. And since we are in Belfast, we should at least get a little beyond the confines of the railway stations, so we'll head to the Crumlin Road Gaol, just a few blocks to the west. Many consider Crumlin Road Gaol haunted, most likely linked to the 17 executions that once took place here. 15 of those prisoners still rest within the walls, while the other 2 now lie in Milltown Cemetery. Built in 1846, the prison is the only one from the Victorian era still to be found in Northern Ireland. Its last prisoner left in 1996, and it officially closed in 1998. Now a museum, the building yields experiences such as doors slamming shut on their own, women calling for help, or the sighting of a man who walks down C wing before disappearing. Surprisingly, many sightings seem to involve wardens rather than prisoners. Some of the hauntings have been caught on camera. One of them depicts what looks like a man in a uniform in B wing, which was closed at the time of the woman's visit. While the photograph isn't conclusive enough to say it is a phantom warden, there are also reports of phantom footsteps in the wing, often attributed to the warden. He also might be the dark figure seen drifting between the cells. Beneath the prison lies a tunnel that runs between the prison and the courthouse across the street. While the prison was open, wardens reported seeing a gray figure in the tunnel. Perhaps this is the figure responsible for the groans, sighs, whistles, and coughs captured on recorders by ghost hunters in this tunnel. If you want to check it out for yourself, you're in luck. The jail regularly hosts paranormal events that you're welcome to sign up for if you dare. Not done with Belfast. A short way away, we have an ancient tale that has since been laid to rest, but it's still a fascinating one all the same. At the top end of what is now Royal Avenue, originally called John Street, one of its houses apparently suffered from a poltergeist. At least the stories called it a poltergeist, but they also refer to the ghost of an angry old woman. Reports explained how the ghost caused havoc, throwing cups and plates, and even furniture. According to one report, she destroyed everything that was in the back garden. One of those who lived in the house claimed to see a ghostly woman pacing in the back room while muttering. Whoever the woman was, she was not happy. Yet it seems this ghost story actually has a happy ending, if such endings could be called happy. In the early 1880s, workers needed to put new pipes under the house. They opened up the foundations and came across a woman's skeleton. She'd certainly been there for some time. The authorities exhumed the bones and gave them a proper burial at the Union Graveyard. No one saw the angry old woman again. It's a shame that no one knows who she was or why she was buried under the house, but the burial seems to have quieted the spirit all the same.
All right, so we're going to move over to Belfast Smithfield Market. Now, there are several ghosts that reportedly linger here. The most famous is that of Biddy Farrelly. She was the lover of a local businessman, Luke White, who ran a bookstore in the Smithfield Market area. He abandoned her when he left for Dublin to seek his fortune. Some versions have the story. Other stories say that White left her a sum of money before he moved. Others say he left her a sum of money when he died. Either way, she ended up with £250. Having already turned to drink when he abandoned her, she used that money to buy more alcohol and drank herself to death. Some say she hoped to join him in death. According to the legend, she wanders the area, especially around Gresham Street, looking for her lover. Some sources say she carries a bundle of books, which would make sense due to White's job as a bookseller.
So, if you see a ghostly woman carrying books,
yep,
maybe she'll be kindly enough to sell you one.
Maybe. Ghost book? Like travel?
A William Butler Yeats first edition?
That'd be awesome if it was in real life, not just ghostly. Just saying.
All right.
Or something.
We are going to go ahead now and depart Belfast. We're going to stick to the north, though. We're hugging the north coast of County Derry, where we will find downhill
Demensny.
Downhill Demens, and Mussenden Temple. These are part of the 18th century estate that once belonged to the eccentric Earl Bishop Frederick Hervey. The downtown Desmine was first created in the 1770s by Dr. Frederick Hervey, the Bishop of Derry and the 4th Earl of Bristol. Mussenden Temple was added in 1783. The house and the temple overlook the picturesque downhill and Benon Strands.
I did not pick an easy one.
Nope. Mussenden was built for Hervey's niece, Fred Swede Mussenden, of whom he was reportedly very fond. Some have even a legend, overly fond. Mussenden was built as a library and a retreat for Fred's wife when she visited. Rumor has it the scandal and gossip proved too much for her, and she died in 1785. Mussenden has effectively been her memorial ever since. A major fire in 1851 damaged large parts of the house, including Bishop Lord Bristol's extensive art collection. It sat disused for nearly 20 years before restoration work began in 1870. During the Second World War, downhill was used to billet RAF servicemen and women. After the war, the upkeep of the house became too much, and it was dismantled and much of the surrounding land was sold off. The ruins of the house and some of the surrounding land was acquired by the National Trust in 1980. Mussenden Temple has been passed into their ownership ever since. Now, here it is that there is a red puddle of blood that is said to manifest inside the temple and disappear as fast as it appears. No one knows why this happens. A pentacle is reported to have been within the decor of Mussenden Temple. Hervey also had a room built for secret masses to be held during the anti-Catholic penal laws. Whether or not this has anything to do with the mysterious puddle of blood is an enduring mystery that has captured the interest of paranormal enthusiasts for years. So, mystery remains unsolved.
Yes.
Dun dun dun. Next, we have an odd tale from the outskirts of Dublin. During the Easter Rising of 1916, Major Gerald Colley, a brother-in-law of Mrs. Edith Colley of Corca, was stationed in Dublin Castle. On the day before Easter, the Major telephoned his wife to tell her that there was some trouble brewing between the Irish nationalists and the British authorities. On Easter Monday, the rising took place, and the Major's wife, along with a friend, went to Belgard Castle to watch the burning bridges in the city of Dublin. Meanwhile, Mrs. Edith Colley, whilst walking with her husband, George P.A. Colley, through Corca Estate, heard a marching band playing and the sound of tramping feet marching down the Naas Road through the rear gate of Corca. They hurried back to the house to find the entire staff anxiously gathered at the front of the house. All had heard the band, and they thought that Corca was going to be attacked. However, the music suddenly stopped, and there was nothing to be seen. Despite the large number of people who heard the band, it never actually appeared. So, interesting. Phantom band music.
Phantom band, yeah. That I thought was a cute little story.
It is an interesting one. You want me to keep going?
Please.
Okay.
Sorry.
No?
My house is rough.
One final stop for this evening. We're going to stick to the Dublin outskirts. And it's here that we have the original castle at Rathfarnham that dates back to the Elizabethan period and was built for Archbishop Adam Loftus, an ambitious Yorkshire clergyman who came to Ireland as chaplain to the Lord Deputy and quickly rose to become Archbishop of Dublin, Lord Chancellor of Ireland, and was closely involved in the establishment of Trinity College. The castle, with its 4 flanker towers, is an excellent example of the fortified house in Ireland. For many years, it was owned by the Jesuits, who sold Rathfarnham Castle to a property development group. Before leaving, they removed the stained glass windows from the chapel and donated them to Tullamore Catholic Church, which had been destroyed by fire in 1983. The other windows were donated to Our Lady Hospice, Harold's Cross, and Temple Street Children's Hospital in Dublin. The Irish nation was so horrified that the site was going to be demolished that in 1987 it was bought by the Irish government and was declared a national monument. The castle has long had a reputation for hauntings, as it was first published in the book True Irish Ghost Stories by St. John D. Seymour and Harry L. Melgan in 1914. This book was published 111 years ago. And here is an excerpt from that original publication. In the winter of 1840 and 1841, in the days when snow and ice and all their attendant pleasures were more often in evidence than in these degenerate days, a skating party was enjoying itself on the pond in the grounds of the castle near Rathfarnham, County Dublin. Among the skaters was a man who had with him a very fine curly-coated retriever dog. The pond was thronged with people enjoying themselves when suddenly the ice gave way beneath him, and the man fell into the water. The dog went to his rescue, and both were drowned. A monument was erected to perpetuate the memory of the dog's heroic self-sacrifice, but only the pedestal now remains. The ghost of the dog is said to haunt the grounds and the public road between the castle gate and the Dodder Bridge. Many people have seen the phantom dog, and the story is well known locally. Then there is the ghost of a boy who is murdered by a Romani. Murdered by a Romani is said to haunt one of the lodge gates of the castle Desmony, and the lodge keeper states that he saw it only a short time ago. The castle, however, is now in possession of Jesuit fathers, and the superior assures us that there have been no signs of a ghost for a long time. His explanation being that the place is so crowded out with new buildings that even a ghost would have some difficulty in finding a comfortable corner. Then there is the ghost of a woman who is said to haunt the castle ballroom. An old story recounts how two suitors were competing for her affection and locked her away behind the ballroom paneling. They would hold a duel with the victor returning to set her free and take her hand. But there was a major flaw to this, as both men died in the duel, leaving the poor woman trapped for 130 years. Oops. So, yeah, she still lingers on there. Lingered on there, rather.
I'd be so mad.
Those stories were from 111 years ago, so
I would be so mad.
The landscape's changed a little bit for sure. But that is Haunted Ireland Part 4. We hope you enjoyed. Drivers outside.
Yes, we hope you enjoyed. Next time in 2 weeks, which is the...
We'll have to look it up. 2 weeks from today.
Yeah, it's going to be Haunted Libraries Part 2.
Yay, more haunted libraries. Because we love books.
Yes. It'll be April 7th.
April 7th. Okay.
And then after that, I'm looking to try to do another Haunted Celebrities.
Okay.
Just because.
We'll see how it pans out.
We'll see how I go.
Yep. But until then, again, you can come on out. You can see us at GalaxyCon. You can come out on a tour. Hope to see you sometime in the next couple of weeks.
Yes.
If not, we totally understand. Life gets busy, things can happen, and all that good stuff. And hope to see you back here on our next episode in 2 weeks' time. Which does bring me one final note, a technical note, if you will. Facebook is changing their policies, and all of our live videos are being deleted after 1 month. So basically, everything that we've recorded on Facebook for the last 5 years is basically gone.
Thank God we put it on YouTube.
Yes, so not gone. It's just gone from Facebook. We have downloaded all of this. We're putting it is all on YouTube. And as soon as we get off the air tonight, I am going to put this episode on YouTube as well. So if you do want to ever go back and catch one of our past episodes, you will have to go and look there because Facebook said, we're not storing your videos anymore. So just on that technical note,
yeah,
go catch us over there on YouTube. But other than that,
see us at GalaxyCon.
Excellent. We look forward to seeing you there. We are booth 1421. So we got
We're dead center of the vendor area.
Yes, and it's an inline booth. We do not have a corner booth at this time. So just keep an eye out for us. We'll be there. Looking forward to it. Going to have a good time. And
I'm still looking at comments. Sorry.
Yeah. Any lingering comments? Anything we missed?
Alex, there's so much history intertwined with all of these stories. How much historical knowledge do you find you need when to have on your tour nights? We are always reading more and learning more and correcting as we find that some things might have been wrong.
Fortunately, we don't have to correct too often. But yeah. Our philosophy is that you do not really have a good ghost story if you do not have the history to go with it.
Yeah, you need the context.
It's really easy to walk up to a place and say, yeah, they saw like a ghostly figure and they hear footsteps and they hear groaning and that. And that's all creepy enough for sure. But who is it? Why are they there? What happened? Mm-hmm. What resulted in the haunting?
That's what makes it a good story.
Yes. You need that historic context to truly have a good story. You know, it's always fun. You can certainly go in from time to time. You can throw in, you know, kind of one of those, you know, kind of creepy stories that just seems to be like more like a little just jump scare more than anything mm-hmm. else. It's fun to throw in a story like that every once in a while. But by and large, most of what we do is very much rooted in the historic fact that goes with the haunting tales. Because we think that that's what really makes a good ghost story and, in turn, a good ghost tour.
Yeah. And just one more thing with the panels, we are all night panels this year. So 7:30 the Thursday, 7:15 Friday, and 8:30
Saturday. Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, all of them just as the floor is getting ready to close up for the evening, or just after the floor closes.
Yep.
But yeah, so we've got all that going on, and then Sunday we just get to chill out at our booth and say and talk to people.
Yes.
So yeah, it's going to be a fun weekend. And again, if you haven't checked it out, GalaxyCon, it's a good time. I will say Saturday gets crazy.
Gets very crazy.
Gets very, very crazy.
Patience. Have your patience that day.
Yeah, pack your patience. So that noted, if you can come join us.
Yeah, come hang out with us one of the other days. We'll be more than happy.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm trying to think. Anything else?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Yeah.
But thank you all for watching again.
My voice made it. Woo!
Yeah. And at the very least, we will hope to see you back here in 2 weeks' time.
All right.
So, until then,
have a good night.
Stay spooky, y'all.